Viewer discretion is advised.
He goes, I'll give you a week. And that week ended up being 10 years.
Mandate.
Hey, welcome to Mandate, to the podcast Mandate. And so, like we said before, nothing's off the table. And so we're very privileged to have men who are doing some great things and who continue to do some great things. And the hope that that we're able to encourage and inspire other men to do likewise. And so the premise really is about just broadening our perspective and widening our thoughts as well. And so tonight we have AJ. We got a special guest tonight, a very amazing young man. And so give it up, please, for Nickson Clark.
Oh, wow, the studio audience? Wow. And thank you for calling me young. I appreciate that. I don't get that a lot these days. Thank you.
Hey, also, thank you so much for coming on tonight. We're very privileged, like I said before. And so for the men who are watching this and for the viewers who are watching this tonight, if you could just give us a little bit, obviously people may have seen or heard of you. Oh, I know that voice, that familiar voice on the airwaves. But if you can tell us a little bit about yourself before we kind of head into or delve into that kind of the radio and you being on radio and so forth, and just to give us a little bit of a glimpse of the earlier times or your life before radio.
Before radio. Okay, where do I start? I was born on the 22nd of August, 1985. My real first name is Anthony. Anthony Stephen Mamilo So'ialo Nickson Clark. And when I was born, my mum, I think I gave my mum a rough ride, and my nana had to do the paperwork, and typical Samoan didn't read the boxes and put all the names in the wrong places, and then put all these random Samoan bits in my name that my dad can't even pronounce. And then 38 or 37 years later, they call me Nickson now, so they just stuck with that, and they kind of went with, it kind of just stuck, and people just ran with that. So so that was from the time that I was born to how I got my name. And I'm an Auckland boy, very proud to be from the 09. I went away a couple of years for schooling in Australia. As like I was doing some, I got a scholarship overseas. My parents thought I was good at rugby. And then I didn't make any team, and then my dad was like, "You're coming home, you're useless." So I ended up coming back to Auckland, and now instead of playing sport, I talk about sport on the radio. So yeah, that's basically been my life. I'm my only child, and I'm married to a very beautiful Palangi woman, and nice. I feel like I'm living my best life. So yeah.
Man, awesome. And so the scholarship based on sports, was it, or was it based on the rugby?
It was academics and sport. But like I only just scraped in with sport, but it kind of gave my dad this glimmer of hope that, one day I might, put on an All Black jersey or something, but that never happened. So yeah.
Wow. Father's dream, eh?
Yeah, everyone got bigger and I didn't. And everyone got like better at like tackling and skill, and I didn't. So that kind of fell flat. But I love watching sport, and I think that I'm halfway there.
Oh, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
And so with all that coming happening in radio. Yeah. And so it is quite fascinating because we hear your voice a lot on the radio and for many years. And so how did that happen for you? How did that kind of radio kind of end up being the avenue that you kind of took and kind of pursued? Yeah,
I was talking about this the other day. Someone asked me the exact same question. So when you go to school and they always say, oh, so-and-so talks too much, so-and-so talks too much, so-and-so gets distracted too much. And I got that a lot. And I know probably a lot of people got that. And a lot of teachers think of that as a negative. And when you get your report card back, your parents think that that's a negative too. And so I think it was like one day it was like 7th form or year 13 now for all the youngins. And I just flipped it. And I was talking to the guidance counselor at school, who was a beautiful Samoan woman. And she was like, "What do you want to do?" And I kind of looked at my report card and looked at all my grades, and I was like, how about I take that negative and turn it into a positive? And in 2022, they now pay me to talk. So when everybody thought that it was a negative, that I was talking too much in class, that keeps my power on. So I kind of looked at it like that, and I thought maybe radio would be a good shout. And then I wanted to get into communications and learn how to communicate and tell good stories and make people laugh. And then I figured out that you can get paid for that.
Wow.
And then I ended up doing it with a good friend that I did radio with for a long time, and his name's Nate Nauer. So we kind of went on that journey together.
Wow, what amazing. And it's been a long, in terms of longevity, I guess you're probably the longest heard voices on the radio, Nickson. And so obviously we'll touch base on something else later on. But if you can tell us, because I know you kind of went into radio with Nate. And so tell us a little bit about the relationship between you and Nate, because obviously you guys are like close buddies or
yeah,
best of friends.
So we kind of like, we knew each other a little bit. We kind of grew up together, and we ended up going to radio school because they needed brown people in there for funding. And so we were like, oh, sweet, if you're going to pay for it, all goods. So we ended up doing it. And then Nate and I were doing like part-time work at New FM as well. And we got so much love for that radio station because they kind of gave us, well, one, Pacific people a voice. And they gave us a shot, you know, and, you know, we knew nothing, but we would do anything. We were cleaning the dishes, you know, helping out in the promo team. And we were just always together. And then when we ended up going to radio school, it was like I think we were halfway through the course, and then they started this new radio station in Auckland called Flavor, which everybody knows now. Yeah. And they were running a competition to see, you know, who can be the night show host for it. And he like looked at me and he goes, I dare you to enter that. And we were just laughing about it. And he goes, no, straight up, I dare you to enter that. And I was like, nah, bro, they're just doing that. Like, they probably already found somebody. And he goes, nah, go on, you got nothing to lose. I won't tell anyone. So anyway, I submitted a tape that him and I both made, and then and I got the job.
Wow.
And that was my first commercial radio job, and I've got to give Nate credit for that, because if it wasn't for his dear, I would never have done it, and I would never have got a job. And because of that, I said, bro, if we ever get a chance to, you know, if I ever get a chance to pick my co-host on any show that I do, like, I got you. And when I got the gig at My FM, they were like, who do you want to do the show with? And I was like, I know the person. And that's how Nickson Nate started on My FM. So,
wow, what a story!
Yeah, but no, like, he's got my back, and I know that, and I've got his, and that's a friendship that's surpassed, you know, the radio, and has become like real life for us. So yeah.
What a story, man!
Man, that's awesome. I heard that you have a group of friends that you've had since like kindergarten. Like, there's 5 of them that you've sort of been boys with.
My type 5.
Yeah, your type 5.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit curious about how friendships endure that long. What's the secret to keeping friendships? Because obviously, I mean, as you get older, it gets harder to be social and to keep those relationships. So you really have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
But what's the secret to maintaining a friendship like that?
Yeah. So I'm a very like God-fearing man. So church was a massive part in my life, and that's where we kind of all gravitated to. So we went to kindergarten, but all our mums, you know, would rally us up, and we'd all have to go to Sunday school and church and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of been the center of it for us. So we all grew up in the church, and you know, we all went to school together, kindergarten. We went to primary, intermediate, high school. And then because your relationship's so tight, your mum becomes aunties to them. You become family. And we all treated each other like legit brothers. And I think that just that common interest, and we can all go away, have jobs. They've got families now, but we all can come back and we can feel youthful again, and we've still got so much in common because of the history. And we make time for that too. Yeah. So we always make time. It's like, hey, once a month, boys catching up, bring your families. We're all going to have barbecue, or we'll go cafe, or, you know, go movies, or just go do something. So we always make time for that. And I think it's so important. And I think when life's so busy as well, and you know, the stresses of like work and the stresses of, you know, outside stuff, your environment, you know, you can always center yourself with those people that you trust. And if you've got those people around you, it keeps you humble too. Keeps you humble. And that's really important. And we made that pact. We made that pact. I think it was like our last year of school. It's like, we got to stay tight. And still to this day, like, just as I was driving here, we all had a group chat on Facebook, just having a talk, just having a catch up on the day, and planning what we're going to do on Saturday. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Also, and I love the fact that you said, well, I guess we kind of touched base on longevity, Nickson. Obviously, longevity with friends, longevity on the radio station, but just for the men out there, just for some of the aspiring young men, or people in general, they may be thinking, oh man, I want to get into the broadcasting, I want to get into the radio. And just in case, what are some advice or some of the gems you could give some of our men who may be thinking, hey, because some people might be thinking, hey, it's easy, get on the studio, just talk. Yeah. But I can imagine there's a lot of grind, there's a lot of work behind the scenes.
There's a lot of work, yeah. You know, you said I was young before, but radio has definitely aged me. You got to wake up at 3 o'clock every morning, and even on the weekends it screws you over. But no, like, I think the main thing is, and I think for like any career that people are going for, like, the one thing that I've had to like refocus myself on or remind myself on is that within our culture, as a proud Samoan guy who is multicultural and represents for my English side as well, we're taught to be humble all the time. You know, that it's like ingrained in us by our elders to stay humble. And I think that's all well and good, but don't let that overshadow ambition. And that's one thing, is that, yeah, you can be humble, but have dreams, like have ambition, like what do you want to achieve? And I think that as long as you respect your humbleness, know that you're on a journey to create something special. So then the legacy that your elders are putting on you, you can create that legacy for the next generation. And I think there's room for both of those, to be ambitious, to have drive, to have goals, but to also stay humble at the same time. Don't let one overweigh the other. And also with that as well, I love reading, and there was this passage in a book, and at first it shook me, but then as I sat on it and resonated on it for a bit, it actually makes sense. And it was, if your dreams, unless they're actually your dreams.
Wow.
And I see that, and I see so many people, they get into a stage where they see somebody else doing good, and they're like, oh, I can do that too. I'm going to try and do that. But then it doesn't work for them. And then you have to realize that actually wasn't your dream. Like, what are you good at? What's your ambition? Like, what do you actually want to achieve? And is it your calling or not? And I think that once you weigh that up, because some people look, man, like Adi Savia is like amazing, but I can't do what Adi Savia does. And he looks like he's doing life the best, but that's not my calling. And so I think that once you know your dream, it makes that ambition so much easier to achieve, and the humbleness just comes with it. So again, focus on your dreams. Like, don't look at what other people are doing. Like, what's your calling? And I think that's the main thing.
Wow. Because I can imagine, and that's well said.
Does that actually make sense?
No, that makes perfect
cool.
sense.
Because I felt like I was waffling, and I was like, oh no. Okay.
No, that makes perfect sense. But what are your thoughts? Because and Jay, because there's probably a lot of young people out there, or men in general, who may be thinking, oh man, like I said before, you're saying because they, hey, I want to be just like Nickson, and then all of a sudden they try to get into the radio and so forth, and things don't work out for them. Because what are your thoughts? Do you think a lot of us are trying to pursue other people's goals or dreams, or is it just like a facade? It's like, oh, because he's doing really good, I want to do good, I want to do that, and not really know for a fact, hey, I'm not really good at that, or I'm really actually good at this. Yeah. I think I figured it out at like 28, which for some people that's quite late in life. And I got reminded that it's so much easier to be yourself than to be someone else. Like, it's so much easier just to live your true self rather than trying to fake it till you make it. And that's that. Like, I mean, if you're calling and your heart is telling you want to do radio, then man, just hustle hard. Like, everybody started at the bottom. Like I said before, Nate and I were washing dishes. You know, we were like sending out prizes, as well as sending those prizes to our house too. But you know, like you're doing things that you know that's the life you want to live. You don't want to like pursue something just because you think it looks good. Like radio might look good from the outside, but if it's not your calling, it's going to be a really rough ride, and you're not going to enjoy it. Wow. So I feel like, yeah, if you want to do something and you really believe, and your heart is telling you that that's where you want to be, then you got to keep hustling and know you're not going to get there at the start. It's a work in progress. And I think that's like with any job, right? You start at the bottom and then you work your way through. But nice. yeah. It's so cool. And like you said, but humility, Nickson. And it seems to be something that's that we as Pacific Islanders, AJ, that we kind of wrestle with, and it's kind of hard for us to kind of sometimes overcome, so to speak. But what do you think that's the case, Nickson? What is it? Why is humility like, oh, I need to be humble? Why is it that we as a people find it so hard to overcome the humility and say, oh no, I'm not going to shine the light on myself. I'm just going to, just be humble. What's that? What's up with that? Yeah, I don't know. Like a lot of I had that as well. Like my mum always reminds me to stay humble. I think I get a reminder every single day. And again, like I feel like I am. I feel like a little bit of myself is misunderstood sometimes. I think once you get to know me, you're like, oh, I get it now. I get it. But I think a lot of it too is because we Pacific Island people, as much as we probably don't want to admit it, but we know that it exists. I think we've got like this point start deficit. I feel like, we feel like, oh, maybe we're not good enough for that. Or because of the way the world is, I don't see someone like me doing that, and I had that same complex as well. When I eventually decided that my time was done at my FM,
I thought, well, maybe us brown guys are only meant for hip hop and R&B radio. Maybe there's not a chance for us, because I didn't see anyone like me or that sounded like me on another radio station. Like, my only other option was going back to Flavor, going to New FM or my FM, because that's what the industry looks like, right? You know, so like if you're listening to a radio station, you're going to gravitate to people that sound like you, look like you. And so I think the more people we can get into jobs that are in mainstream that can prove that we can do that, I think we'll break down those walls. So then we can go, oh, cool, I can think different now. Like, it's not just this way. It can be all these different ways. And I think that's probably the most thing that the thing that I'm most proud about is that our company MediaWorks gave me the opportunity as a proud Samoan man once again to be on a radio station and leading a team that's been historically a Palangi show or a Palangi radio station on the edge. So again, I hope that inspires other people to go, oh shucks, I'm brown too. There is a chance for me to go there. So again, more faces, more voices heard in seats that haven't been historically filled by Pacific Islanders or Māoris will help break down that humility a little bit and create more of that ambition.
Oh man, awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was just going to say it. Sort of reminds you of like, it can sometimes be a double-edged sword, that humility, but also just finding your ambition. I think with the introduction of social media and, you know, everyone's living their best life, and sometimes it's even harder now to really find what you stand for and what you're going to push for. And I like some of the points that you've mentioned in terms of you being able to find your path through the report cards. It's sort of your origin story, you know, as a superhero and as a role model. And I just want to comment on, I think it's awesome that you are able to branch off into new spaces. I find in whatever arena in life you're operating in, it's scary.
It is.
When you're sort of being the first in that space.
You think about like our parents, right? They had one job and they stuck in their one job for ages. And like my mum cried when I left my FM because she was like, no, that's where that's like, you've done all of this. Like, why would you leave it? But again, like ambition kicks in. I'm going to stay humble, mum, I promise. But I want to do better for not just me, but for eventually if I'm blessed enough to have kids and, you know, for those other people, again, that want to do radio is to show that we can do more than hip hop and R&B radio. We can do that. We can be more than just athletes. You know, they think, oh yeah, you're an Islander. Oh, you must be good at rugby. Nah, we can do better than that. We can be CEOs. We can be managers. We can do all of this stuff. We can travel the world. We can be, you know, recognized for other skills and other skill sets. So, yeah.
And it's amazing, Nickson, because is it fair to say, Nickson, and I'll just throw it out there, is it fair to say that you kind of made my FM in terms of the ratings and so forth, and the number one ratings?
Number one, yeah,
because I want to touch on that, because for so long the number one ratings, but in terms of recognition and so forth, how was that the whole?
I do get a lot of credit for that, but I can't own it. I can't own it. I think I was just like the common denominator there. But you know who I actually want to give full credit to, and it was based on a lot of trust, is DJ Severe.
Wow.
So like DJ Severe and I have this real like really weird relationship. It's like a real love-hate relationship. Like love each other but hate working with each other, you know? But there was like first of all, like Nate and I doing My FM for the first time was a real shock to a lot of people, because historically My FM was a Māori station for the youth of like the Te Reo Māori, embraced it. Like we had to speak Te Reo, like it was made for the youth of Aotearoa that represented as Māori. And then all of a sudden 2 Samoans turn up and then they have a turn, and like they'd never had that before. So we came up with a lot of resistance to that. And then they committed to it, and they said, oh, we'll see how they go. And then they were making us do all these things that just weren't right for our people. And, you know, they were making us like blow up cars and like pull people's pants down. And we're like, oh man, that's not cool. Like, you know, trying to do that shocking thing. And me and Nate were like, I'm not into it, eh? Like, this is not really us. And then I said to Severe one day, we sat down and we had like an argument. And I said, bro, just let us be us. Like, can you just let us be us? Like, we know each other, the relationship's there, the chemistry's there. Like, just let me and Nate talk about whatever we want to talk about. And because we know our people. And we grew up different, but we know our people. And he goes, I'll give you a week. And that week ended up being 10 years. because it worked.
Wow.
Because Nate and I both agreed that, man, like we're on this, we've got a platform, we've got a microphone, like we want our people to be proud to be able to listen to this, no matter what culture you represent. We want you to feel like, man, when you're listening to this, this is home. And Severe, he loosened the leash and he let us do us, and that's how the number one. I think within that year, like we got our first number one ratings.
Wow.
And then I think like I stayed humble, and Nate was like, "See, I told you."
The best. We're the best.
But again, and I think that set up the trajectory for like what it is now. You know, like we lost Lily, and she's like a sister to Nate and I. And we still all talk now.
Yeah.
We have our WhatsApp group, but she's in London now. And when she left, then we could easily bring in Tegan, and then Tegan fit into the mold perfect. And then when Nate left, we brought in Jordan.
Yep.
And then that trajectory of like that wanting to be about our people worked. And that's why like it didn't really matter who you put in that chair. As long as you stick to the plan, it should work. And that's why I was really content. I was really happy to leave, because I knew that the other two had it. Bringing in Brooke, he knew it too. He just needs to have time in the seat. And that's the plan. That's actually the magic. When they're like, how did my FM get to number one? It's because we're just being honest and real. That's it. Just being yourself. Just being yourself.
But what happened in that 1 week? What were you guys doing? What were you guys talking about on that 1 week?
Oh no, we were just having a laugh. I think like we were teasing all the people that turned up to Polyfest and Pacifica that were wearing Kathmandu jackets when it was like 30 degrees, and we were just having a laugh. And then heaps of people were like, "Oh man, I saw that too." And again, you're not trying to shock people. It's just observational humor. It's like, what did I see today? You know, like I think Nate brought the story in that first week as well. Like we went to Countdown, and I ran inside to go get something, and he stayed outside to have a smoke and sitting on the bread crates. And someone came and gave him money thinking he was homeless. And he just shared that story, and it just created laughter. And it just was like, man, this guy's a real one, because no one would really admit to being mistaken for a homeless person, right? So if you're not homeless. And then, I think we just started having a laugh, and they were genuine laughs. They were just stories that, you know, we could share. And he would talk about his upbringing in Samoa and then in South Auckland. And I could talk about growing up in West Auckland and being a reject athlete, you know, so like I think all of that came together. And then when we brought Lily in, she represented for like the females, and then she could share her experiences. And I think it all just worked. People could hear something in us that was them as well. And I think that was the magic, where we wanted to be people's friends. We think about it, you know, when you go out for dinner, and you see a table and they're having like laughs and fun, but your table is boring, so you want to come over to our table. And we wanted you to be on the table. We didn't want you eavesdropping from the table next door, like having a laugh. We wanted you like come, like we're all family. You know, like when we all have a get together, come inside, like everybody grab a seat, and that's what we wanted to create on radio, is that family of it's a community. Wow. It's a community. So yeah, there was a lot of planning and a lot of trust, but I mean, thank God that it worked, because, you know, it could have gone bad. But no one was doing it. No one was doing it. And I really feel like we trailblazed that.
Wow. And it wasn't just once Nickson, in terms of number one ratings. Was there several times you
11 years in a row we got it.
Wow.
11 years in a row we got number one music breakfast show in Auckland. So
but was that acknowledged? Did they acknowledge it on the radios and so forth?
And then we never won Best Breakfast Show at the Radio Awards, but I think it's because Nate was responsible for the writing and he never submitted it. But but like we knew that we had done well, and a lot of other shows were looking at what we were doing. But obviously, you know, you can't, again, you can't replicate, because it's not your calling.
Yeah, exactly.
We knew our lane. So, you know, but we did win Radio Station of the Year, which we were really proud about. And we won a nice award for that. And I think, again, once you win awards like that, you're like, my job's done now. It's time to go and spread my wings and do something else. But 11 years straight, 3 or 4 different shows amongst that time, and we still maintain that. So I'm pretty proud of that. Pretty proud of that.
Wow. And then now you've moved on to the Edge now.
Yeah, playing Ed Sheeran and Dua Lipa instead of 50 Cent. So yeah. No, it's good. It's good. And again, like I said before, I wanted to prove. I mean, the backstory to that is that I thought my time was up at the end of 2021. I sat down with my wife. I think it was like October last year. I sat down with my wife and I said my contract's coming up, and I think I'm done. I think I'm tired. those 3 o'clock starts, and I'd have to go to bed a little bit early, so I was like, oh, I've done this for so long. Maybe it's time for me to like go easy on myself a little bit and be a stay-at-home parent for my dog. And she was like, yeah, no, that's fine. If that's what you want to do, that's cool. And then I said, I'll reassess it after that and just take a bit of a break. And then I think it was December. It was 2 weeks before we wrapped up for the year, and I hadn't told the team yet. And the boss came and said, hey, I know your contract's coming up. Like, what do you want to do? And I said, oh, look, I think I'm going to finish up, and, respectfully, thank you for everything, but I think I'm done. And he came back in like 20 minutes and he's like, do you want to go to the edge? Like, what's your thoughts on going to do something different at the edge? They needed a bit of help. And he said, oh, I've got 2 years. If you can you give me 2 years? And they gave me a 2-year contract to do that. So I went home and talked to my wife about it. And then I said, how quickly do I have to give you an answer? And he goes, before the show starts the next morning. Wow. So I told my wife at like 8 o'clock that night. And then I had until 4 o'clock the next morning to text him and tell him that I was going to do it or not. And so I talked to the wife, went to sleep, woke up. I said, oh, I'm going to tell him I'll take it. And so on my way to work, I messaged him, and then he said, cool, we'll have a meeting at 9:30 after the show.
Yeah.
And then he just came in. I didn't even get a chance to tell Jordan and Tegan and the producing team. He just came in and said, oh, Nickson's finishing up. He's going over to the edge. And I was like, oh, God. And so... And then the next day, I announced that I was leaving. The team were pretty dark. They didn't talk to me for like a good hour, but then they realized that it didn't get to me. So they started talking to me after 7 o'clock. And then, but that was still a bit dark. And I totally accept that, it wasn't really done the way that I really wanted it to be done. And then, the next day I announced that I was leaving. And then the day after that, it was my last show. And so it happened within 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, so I didn't really get a chance properly to say goodbye, but I didn't really want it to drag out either. But I enjoyed my time there, but it just happened so quick, and now I'm on to this next journey. So but that was all done in 3 days. Man. Yeah.
I can imagine it's just a roller coaster of all these emotions, Nickson.
Yeah.
And so even in that when he comes in, he goes, hey, he's leaving now, and you got Tegan and Jordan thinking, what the heck? What's going on here, man?
Oh, yeah, that was polite. There was a lot of more colourful words than that. Yeah. Oh. No, it was pretty rough too, and like our producing team was a bit gutted as well, because it just came out of nowhere. I think they knew that like I was going to do something else. I think they got that feeling, because I started to like check out a little bit. I was still going hard, but you know when your mind's a little bit distracted, you're just like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? Christmas is coming, and then they just ripped it off like a plaster, and now I'm onto the edge. So and it's a different beast, man. It's a very different beast, but they've accepted me with open arms, and I think again, like if I could encourage anybody when you're finding a new workplace and you're starting something new, it's all about the people you surround yourself with. Like the biggest thing for me about staying at is that there was like certain things, like little things that were making me into like a grumpy old man, where I was like, when the kids are trying to tell you how to do something, and I'm like, hey, chill out. I've been here way longer than you. But I think if you get that feeling, and I tell a lot of people this, and I hope this resonates with somebody, but when you get that feeling that something's not right, you have to action it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't action it and you do bottle it up, and they always say, talk about things, talk. If you don't action or talk about it, it bottles up so much that you'll just snap and you'll turn into a real poisonous person. And you don't want that to be your legacy. You don't want that. You don't want people to remember you by being a dick or, being difficult. And so I was very conscious of that as soon as I started getting that feeling, I was like, I think I got to leave. Otherwise I'm going to be, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be grumpy, and I'm going to bring the team down. And I think that was probably the most mature thing I ever did, other than asking my wife to marry me. I think that's up there with one of the most mature things that I've ever done.
Wow, that's good, man.
Yeah.
Jay, you want to say this?
Yeah. I was just going to say, just with that shift happening so quickly, I'm branching off into sort of a new area. There must have been a lot going through your mind in terms of, with such a quick turnaround, like a lot of nerves. How well did you know the crew from the edge before?
I didn't.
You didn't? Oh,
wow. We'd see each other because we all work in the same building. But and we'd have breakfast and bump into each other. I knew Meg, all right, and she's the co-host on the show. Awesome broadcaster. But yeah, I didn't really know anything. I didn't know the music. I didn't know like, man, for the first, like, even now, like, I've been doing the show for like 3 months now, and even now I'm worried that I'm gonna say my FM instead of saying the Edge, you know. So they've made like this big ass sign that sits right in front of me, so I know the phone number, I know everything. But yeah, it was nervous because I didn't really know too. Obviously not only a station shift, but it's a cultural shift. And like I said before, like my FM's really, like, even though it's a commercial radio station, it's very community aware. Like we know the struggles, we hear the stories, and we're very much involved in that at where Edge is very mainstream. It's very like celebrity heavy, but we try and be real, but there's quite a lot more going on at Edge that can distract from just community. So I thought, man, am I going to fit in here? Shucks, am I going to muck this up? Or, you know, like, will these people even like me? And also, that wasn't even the biggest concern for me, because, like, I got welcomed there with open arms. Wow. But it was all the people that I left behind at that came in hot and started, like, abusing me. Like, because when you're in somebody's life every morning for, like, 11, 12 years, you feel like you're part of the family, right? And I would never take that for granted, and I'll always feel blessed that people like had me in their life in their morning while they were driving to work. But yeah, man, the amount of times I was called a traitor, the abuse that I got about, you know, forgetting about my culture and wanting to be Balangi and all that sort of stuff, like that stuff gets to you. It really gets to you. And like, I'm pretty tough skin. Like, it takes a lot to get to me. And most things are all good, but I think when it gets personal, when people start to question your culture or question your intentions, the only intention for me is to make sure that my mum and dad and my wife are looked after. Like, that's it. And I think that if people understood that yeah, I got paid a little bit more to move to the Edge, but it's not for that reason. It was to know that I'm doing this so then my wife can live her best life and feel like I'm providing as well and contributing. And then my mum and dad know that they've got a son that can support them too and help them out. And I think if you boil it down, that's my intention. I want to make sure that if we have kids one day, I'm financially set, I'm ready to go, and my wife's looked after, and my mum and dad are sweet. And that's purely my intentions.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for free. I love radio, but I wouldn't do it for free. But that's I didn't go there to try and be someone I'm not. I didn't go there to clout chase or anything. Like, you know, the Edge has less listeners than my FM, you know, and so I wanted to work hard and prove again that we can be on the mainstream. So yeah,
awesome. I'll be honest, Nickson, man, because I heard you leaving. Oh man. And we're so accustomed to hearing you on the radio. It's like, oh man, and I felt gutted. Oh, and you're right. I think there's a point when you think, man, I know this guy. Like, I personally know this guy because he's always on the radio. And I felt like I know this guy. He's Samoan, so we're probably family, all that kind of stuff. And so when you said you were leaving, and I think I saw the clip where they had Tegan and Jordan, and they were kind of, there's some tears there. I think Tegan was crying. Like, oh man,
yeah, but she cries all the time.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she's easy cries. But I thought, man, and I don't know, for some reason I thought, man, maybe Nickson's going into real estate or something like that. I don't know, because I heard you talk about property, and so I thought, oh, maybe he's going to real estate. He's going to do something totally different outside of radio.
Yeah, I think that's what got people angry. I think that's what, because I've always joked that in 2030 I want to be the Auckland mayor. And I think people were thinking, oh man, he's probably going to start his campaign. And like, I have done real estate before. I'm not a real estate agent, but like, my wife and I invest in property. And so I think, and I've talked about that a lot. So I think that people thought that I was going to go do something completely different. And then when they found out that I moved literally 10 meters to another studio to do another radio show, I think people were a little bit butthurt about it. And again, like, it happened so quick that I hope people understand that because it happened so quick, like, that's just how it happened. And I do apologize if I hurt anybody's feelings. But again, my intentions were always good. And I wanted to leave the show in a healthy space in it. And I felt like I did that. So, cool, yeah, man. I didn't want people feeling like they got cut short. Like, I rate Brooke. And the thing with Brooke too is that he's been my like protege. So I knew that when Sevilla hired him, I knew that one day he would take my seat. And it's like an All Black jersey. You don't own that seat. You don't own that jersey. So, you know, one day your time will come and someone will come and take it and make it their own. Like Robbie did that for me. Robbie Rakete, you know, he paved the way for us, you know, and to hear his voice. I was like, one day I'm going to do that. Then he eventually passed that seat over to me and I can pass that seat on to somebody else. So, yeah. So again, my intentions were always in the right place, and
Cool, man.
and yeah, I'm sorry that people thought I was gonna go sell their house and do their auctions, but no, that might be later. Auckland Mayor first, and then we'll go real estate. Yeah,
Also, Auckland Mayor, we'll keep. Yeah,
I expect you
we'll
to
keep
vote.
We'll keep it to it, man. Keep it
Nickson 2030, thank you.
2030.
2030. Awesome.
Yeah,
But Nickson, hey, because I know you apologise, hey, in terms of what happened, in terms of the edge and so forth. But I think we as a people, and even as a community, we need to apologise to you. I think a lot of the, and be honest about it, because I think a lot of the hate and a lot of the malice was coming from our own people.
yeah, that was the saddest part for me. That was the saddest part. And it was sad too because the bloody Herald wrote about it and stuff.co.nz wrote about it. And I was like, oh man, it makes our people look bad again that they've written a story about it. And again, I don't think that anybody meant any harm by it. I think it was just pure emotion. And you can't help the way people feel. Like, if you're sad, you're sad. And I'm glad that you can actually like express your sadness. That's a good thing. I just think that when people write messages or when you're feeling angry, whether it's at the Warriors losing or you know, or somebody on radio that you listen to every morning leaves, I think that you have to remember someone's on the receiving end of that, and sometimes it's safer sometimes just to say it out loud rather than type it and put it in somebody's inbox. Yeah, social media is real dangerous, man. I'm so glad that I got brought up without it, so I know what it's like to live without it. Yeah. So I can easily turn it off, and I know that it's harder for our younger generation because the world basically circulates around what you see online now. So it is tough, but I just hope that I hope that we can find balance in that and we can clean it up a little bit. You know, I don't think anybody needs, no matter how angry somebody makes you, I don't think anybody needs to get that in their inbox or not be able to have like a manly chat about it. Like just you know, that's cool. You can ring 0800 My FM or 0800 The Edge and we can talk about it. I think it's a little bit unfair sometimes when you can't really reply, you know. So, yeah.
Yeah, mate. Yeah. And it is cut through there, Nickson.
Yeah.
And I can imagine some of the things they would have said about you or to you, and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm just wondering, just for the men who are watching this as well, just like, because there's some I can imagine you go through some hard times and some hardship. And in that time, in that present time, in terms of what happened, what was going through your mind? What was happening for you mentally?
Again, I got really tough skin, but I think again, you know, that's the worst place you want to be is in self-doubt, you know, because even though I had committed and I knew what I wanted to do and again, my intentions were right, that self-doubt creeps in. It's like, oh, shucks, have I made the right decision? Or like, damn, should have stayed there? Or, you know, or like, damn, have I really screwed up now? What happens if nobody follows me over and I can't help the edge and I get gassed, you know? And I don't know if you guys know, but you know, radio is pretty cutthroat. If you don't rate, you get cut, and it's pretty quick too. So, so yeah, I think self-doubt and I think, you know, for people that aren't as emotionally strong, or I think one thing for me is that when I started in radio, I was a little bit like standoffish. Like I just did the bare basics because I didn't want to muck up. You didn't really know too much about me. You didn't, you know, like it was very basic, black and white. But then I think, again, when I got to 28 years old, I realized that the best way to be is just be myself. And I think the people that listen to from when I was 28 onwards started to experience a little bit more depth to me. So I started to share more. I started to, you know, introduce you to my wife. You know, people met Sarah for the first time via the radio. I think I proposed on the radio, or like I used that to acknowledge that, you know, I'd proposed to my wife, and milestones started to happen on the radio. So I think people were along on the journey and it built a bit more resilience for me. So then you could chuck shade at me, but you knew I could take it because I was cheeky and like was, you know, I knew that I could just brush it off, and I was protected by like Nate and whoever my other co-hosts were. But when you send a message or you get a message to someone who isn't emotionally tough, again, you don't know how it's going to be received. And that pushes our people potentially down the wrong, like we're overrepresented in like suicide rates. We're overrepresented in like depression, but we don't acknowledge that because for a lot of us who grew up, you know, from our elders, man, depression is just attention seeking. So, you know, like you got to be careful. And man, the last thing I want to see is our own people bring our own people down. You know, we're supposed to like lift each other up, man. We're the superior ones. Like let's back each other, you know, like, and so that's why I'm always aware as well. Even when someone's calling the radio show, you don't know what their life is like, you know? So if you're chucking shade, you don't know how that's going to be received. What happens when we hang up the phone? So I think, again, you know, just be aware. And our mentality is we're going to always laugh with you, not at you. And I think if you keep that momentum up, if you're going to mock somebody, make sure you're laughing with them, not at them, at their expense. And again, you know your own emotional stability, but you don't know somebody else's. So I think if we all just remember that, it might make the world a better place. Yeah.
But why is that? Even with you, Jay, Nickson, why is it? You know, why is it that our own people kind of throw shade at us sometimes, and it can be some of the most nastiest things, or they say some real nasty things? Why do you think that sometimes we as a people, as a group or ethnic group, do that to each other? What's up with that, man?
Yeah, I think for like, you know, our culture like prides itself on our jokes are like mocking, you know, and I think again like that's all right in your own circle, but again you don't know sometimes, you know, and I think it's even subtle things, you know, like you know when you catch up with your auntie and your auntie says, "Oh, you put on weight." You know, like those sort of things, and she's laughing at it, but you're like, "Shucks, I really have put on weight," but you know, and hence why I told you no snacks tonight. But yeah, no, I think I just think that we all think that it's funny, but we don't realize the impact.
Yeah,
you know, I think there's a line of it being funny, and then all of a sudden, oh shucks, that actually hurt somebody's feelings. And I don't think we're all on the same level again with that emotional stability. Yeah, so I think the more people in this generation that can change that, and again, remember to laugh with somebody, not at somebody, it might make it a little bit easier moving forward.
Cool, man. That's so good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Just you mentioning the jokes, you know, with your friends or your, you know, your family.
Yeah,
it's brutal.
They're brutal,
They're brutal.
Which I think probably makes us tough. But again, like you try and run those jokes with your like European workmates, man, they know, bro, you're going to go to HR straight away. Hey, you're going to get reported straight away. So again, like, I think it's just being aware. I think, yeah, that's the big one. And I had to learn that too, man, because, you know, some of the jokes I would crack at work are so inappropriate. Like, I'm surprised I haven't been cancelled, but, you know, I think, again, when you're aware of the people that you're around and the environment that you're in and the environment that your workplace wants to create, or that, you know, even within your group, like what little ecosystem do you want to be in? Like, do you want to be around like haters? Do you want to be around supportive people? It's about who you surround yourself with. And you don't want to go to work being surrounded by toxic people, because you're going to bring that toxicity home. And, you know, then that's going to affect your family life too. So it's very important to surround yourself. That's why I moved so far away. I moved so far away. It took me an hour to drive here.
Whoa,
but
man.
And it's again just because, like, you know, you've got to get away sometimes. You got to get away.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. But it's funny how even if you move yourself away and fit yourself with the right people, just by fact of being Samoan ties you to a community that may be different. And so they hold you to a standard that they believe is the right standard or the right way of doing things.
True
even
that.
if you live a completely different lifestyle and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. So it's quite complicated. It's quite complex, yeah.
And the thing is that you don't really even understand that unless you're a Pacific Islander, you know? So, and again, that's probably for the same with Tongans, Niueans, Cook Islanders, you know. But obviously I can only speak on behalf of Samoans, but it is complex, man. And there's a lot of other cultures that don't understand it sometimes and don't get it, you know? So, so we do have it tough, but I know that we're strong enough people to push through.
Okay.
I feel like it's such a battle to like just thinking about that sort of village or that collective mentality. And you know, we mentioned earlier about humility and how you know, sometimes we feel a bit off claiming our success. Even if we've earned that success, we feel a bit off claiming it. And so seeing someone else claim a success, it almost, at least from my perspective in the past, it almost comes off as they're putting their self ahead of everyone else. We're all working hard, but why do they get the success?
Yeah.
And even though that's not the reality of it, I know that some people do think that way. So I just wanted to add that in.
No, and I think too as well is when you you know, like obviously, like I'm on such a smaller scale to these two people that I'm going to use as an example. But you remember when Sonny Bill like left the Bulldogs, and then all of a sudden he started playing rugby union, and then everyone was hating on him, and it's like this dude is doing something that not a normal person can't do. This like this guy is talented,
trailblazing,
and then people just started hating on him and saying he's only chasing the money. But if you put yourself in that situation, and you know, now that I've read his book, he wasn't actually chasing the money. But even if he was doing it to support his family. And if you put yourself in that situation as well, if some other job offered you more money, you're gonna go there. And I think that, you know, you see people like that trailblaze it for our people, saying, yeah, we can do that. We're striving for better. We're ambitious. You see Adi Savia now, he's breaking the mold for the All Blacks. This guy speaks his truth. You know, and I think as well, you know, like you wouldn't expect a Samoan, a proud Samoan man to be saying, man, men's mental health is important. You got to say, you got to respect yourself, respect your brothers, respect your sisters. And you've got like someone like Adi Savia doing that, breaking the mold. The more of us that are doing that, I think the better we're going to be. And like people always say, oh, these guys need to shush. These guys, no, this is the time. They've got a platform. And we've always said, use your platform to be role models. They are actually doing that now. And I think it's just the older generation. They'll learn. But it's up to us, you know, younger guys to, and I'm going to class myself as a younger guy, to keep pushing that momentum to encourage a better life for the next generation and the generations after that.
Oh, that's so cool, Nickson. Because it is exciting, Nickson, because there's probably a lot of people watching this, a lot of men who may be watching this and think, man, it's about loyalty. You know, you talked about Sonny Bill Williams, you know, like, oh, no, he's chasing the money, all that kind of stuff. And then you think, oh, no, other guys who, you know, play for Samoa or Tonga. Yeah. And all of a sudden, oh, they got to the Kiwis or they're playing for Australia now. And so, and you're right, you're absolutely right in terms of they don't understand the backdrop and what's happening in the lives of those individuals. And so a lot of people might be saying, nah, you know, that sounds good and all that. And you're breaking the mold and so forth. But, you know, it seems like for our people, or even for some of our men, it's like, nah, loyalty, man, loyalty, family over everything, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. What is, you know, so how do you break that? How do you break that mold and say, you know what, I'm not going to care. I'm not going to care. But
and I think that comes down to like ambition again. It's like, remember, like, you know, as much as you love your mum and dad, as much as you love your family, it's like, what's the best for you and your mental health as well? And I think, you know, the biggest success for my mum and dad, for like to show that they brought up a good son, was the fact that I can support myself. I got married, I can support my wife. You know, and I think that like they, as much as like they wanted me to be loyal, and my mum was really upset when I left my FM, she could see ambition, and loyalty doesn't always keep the power on. Loyalty's not going to put food on the table. You know, loyalty's not going to get you to the stage where you're going to feel content with your life and very happy and your mental health is going to be right. Loyalty can push you further and further back if you're not getting that fulfillment in your life. And if you're doing it again to please other people, you're never going to feel content in yourself. And I think that our people need to remember that too. You're not turning your back on your parents. You're not turning your back on your family legacy. You're starting that family legacy and you're evolving it. And that's what I think people need to remember, is that you got to look after your cup first. Fill your cup, so then you can fill other people's. You know, and then the more full your cup is, the more you can give to everybody else that's around you that needs that support too. And I think that's what people like Sonny Bill have done. You know, Adi Xavier have done. They filled their cup, and then they're like, now we're going to spread the word. We've got our platform now. We're going to do our thing. So loyalty's all good, but like I said before, sometimes loyalty doesn't keep the power on.
Oh, wow.
You know?
So true. And I can imagine, because a lot of people, I'm just thinking that some of the men may be watching this and think, hey, there's a raw, awesome words, Nickson, and in terms of breaking the mold and all that kind of stuff. And that's perfect timing, because I think a lot of us now are trying to break that mold, Nickson. And you are. And let's be honest, you are trailblazing in terms of the age. There's never been another Samoan who's just kind of got in there and know what you're doing. And I think it's so cool that you're able to do that. And for some of our men who maybe like into mental health or health, well-being and so forth, there's always that barrier that I can't push through, and you, like you said before, oh, maybe I'm not good enough for this. And I think this is perfect timing in terms of, hey, you know what? If Nickson is saying this, other men are talking about this, then maybe there's an opportunity or there's an avenue for me to break that mold and say, you know what? This is what I want. I'm not following anyone else's dream, but I'm just going to continue to pursue it to fill my cup. And so, man, kudos to you, Usul, man. That's some powerful,
thanks,
powerful message.
It hasn't been an easy ride, but again, it's if that's your calling, then you've got to hustle hard. Like, you know, it wasn't an overnight success story. I'm still, you know, fighting some like demons of like, you know, whether I'm worthy or not. But I feel like I'm on the right path, and I feel like everybody should be following their dream, following their journey, because you're gonna be lying down one day and it'll be your last breath, and you want to be able to make sure that you can confidently say, I tried my hardest, I did my best, I lived my life the best way that I could.
Nice,
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
And you've talked about some ambitions, 2030, what being one of them.
Auckland Mayor.
Where did that dream come from, and what else lies in terms of future ambitions that you want to pursue?
I wanted to become Auckland Mayor. Do you want the honest truth on how it started?
Honest truth,
yeah,
let's go.
My mum was angry that she had to pay for a rubbish bag. And I was like, what do you want me to do about it? And she was like, you need to go and talk. Do you know anybody in council? You work on radio. You know how all Samoan mums think because you work in radio, you know everybody. And I was like, I sat there one day and I was like, okay, mum, if I become Auckland Mayor, I'll make sure you get a rubbish bin. And then we just joked about it forever. And then my wife was like, make sure your intentions are right. Don't do it for clout. Make sure you actually want to help people. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, maybe some of these ideas like might actually work. But again, I wanted to make sure that, again, my intentions are right going in for that job. You know, too many people have had that job before and they haven't done anything. So, you know.
like who? Like who?
Yeah, if you're listening, you know who you are. You know who you are.
We all do.
Yeah.
We all do.
And again, like, there's nobody that loves the city much as I do. Like, I love Auckland, and you know, I want to help people, and I want to make sure that everybody has a chance to succeed in the city that, you know, has made it harder to buy a house. It's harder to drive around. The petrol's too expensive. You know, it's a hard city to live in, and I kind of want to be able to put some things in place that can help that. So yeah, so that's a goal for me, 2030. So I'm going to work on that. I got a couple of years at the edge, and we'll see how long that goes. They could renew it after that. I own a cafe with my wife and my parents, so we're working on that as well. And yeah, at the moment, I think I'm just trying to focus on, you know, again, living my best life and having those ambitions again. So I think the big ambition for me is Auckland Mayor.
Ooh, man, that'd be awesome.
That's probably the big one. That's the big one. Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the candidates for this year? Have you had a bit of a look in
so many people chuck shade at Leo Malloy, what's the saddest part for me is that, like, this guy, people only see the TikToks, people only see, you know, the news articles, but man, like the amount of like the unsung stuff that he's done that for our people specifically, you know, like you know, I don't want to out his business if he hasn't said it, but I know firsthand that he has put a lot of money into providing food packages for people over COVID.
Wow,
making sure that, you know, our families can stay fed and supported. So a lot of money has been donated from him. I see him supporting people like Dave Latele, the Brown Butterbean.
Butterbean, yeah.
You know, and he's been in his corner and helping Dave out as well. So again, like, as much as people think that this guy's radical and out the gate, like, he's actually done some amazing things. I don't know too much about Viv, who's also one of the other candidates. And I feel sorry for Official Collins, because, I mean, they're the three probably, you know, main front runners. I feel sorry for him because Aucklanders hate Labour at the moment because of what they did during the lockdowns, you know? So they got a bit of Labour fatigue. And because Phil Goff was quite tight with Labour too, and nothing's really been done. Yeah. Like, how did our people get poorer under Labour? That blows my mind. Anyway, not a political chat. And again, like, I don't want to, yeah, man. Like, I change my vote every time. But I think that the only reason that guy won't get it is because Aucklanders are Labour fatigue.
Yeah, wow.
Like, Labour hasn't done anything really for Auckland. The most important thing people have forgotten is that they save lives. And we don't have the fatality rates that, the rest of the world have had. So you have to respect that. But a lot of people have felt it in their pocket. They felt it with their mental health. They felt it with families and job losses and all that sort of stuff. So I think Aucklanders have probably had enough. So as much as that guy might be real good at the job, I think that might affect him a little bit.
What do you think about the Pacific numbers, and the people might think, oh, maybe. Do you think there's a chance of our Pacific people to say, hey, let's put them in? Yeah.
Well, I hope so. And again, we need to break those molds, man. People think brown people don't vote. They do. And we need to vote. And I think that, I think it's getting better. I think it's getting better. And you got to give kudos to Jacinda Ardern. She really got down with the people. Man, she was calling us every week to wanting to be on the show and have a chat. And again, if it was just for votes, at least she was present, during that time when we needed her the most. So I don't know where she was during COVID, but when we needed her, and she would always pick up the phone. If I called her, she would always pick up, and I will give her kudos for that. But yeah, I hope, man, just vote. You don't lose anything. You don't gain anything. No, you don't lose anything, but we can gain a whole lot if we vote. And you know what? I know that you guys vote too, because Dave Letele on Dancing with the Stars was at the bottom of the leaderboard, but your votes kept him in the competition. Oh, wow. So you guys can vote. I know you can. So now chuck the vote to things that are important that can help our city and help our country.
Wow, man, that's so cool. It seems like you're kind of well versed in terms of politics.
Yeah, that's like a thing. Yeah. Do you know the funny thing too is the stuff that I'm actually interested never fit my FM. I love my lawns and I love politics. I love talkback radio as well. I don't like hip hop music. I hate hip hop music. Don't say that, Nickson. I love R&B. I'm the slow jam king. Yeah. I was driving here listening to Jodeci, but it always made me feel so irrelevant when I had to play a hip hop song and pretending that I liked it. and I did that for over a decade, man. So yeah, but the things that I'm actually interested, I love politics. I love my lawns. I'm a bit of a geek like that, and.
Oh man, because it would be interesting, Nickson, let's say 2030, what would be some of the changes you would implement in Auckland? Yeah, just a little bit. Give us a bit of a
obviously not the secret sauce,
give us a little bit of a teaser.
Some of them are very controversial.
We love controversy.
Okay, oh man, I'm trying to gain votes here, but I know this hits quite heavy, but I know at the same time, if you really think about it, it actually makes sense. Two of my big things is housing. Everybody deserves to have a home, right? And that's what Auckland's struggling with the most. My thing is that when you think of the new subdivisions that are built, they build all these subdivisions, but no one wants to move out there because it's too far away, because they haven't done the road first. If I was mayor, let's build the infrastructure, get the buses and the trains working first, and then build the housing. So then people feel like it's not far away when there's public transport that works. Yeah. I'm not getting stuck in traffic and the roads are right. But we're building these new subdivisions with 4,000 or 5,000 homes, and there's one way in, one way out. Wow. And then no one wants to move there because it's traffic. Look at Takanini. It took 20 years to do the off-ramp, But they built all these new houses out there before they built the off-ramp.
Yes.
And so that's my big thing. And the other big thing that is quite controversial, but it's good. If I get to say it now, at least you can sit on it and then think about it between now and 2030. Yeah. I want to sell the Auckland ports. That's my big, I want to sell it to Tauranga and Whangarei. We don't need a port system here. We don't need cars coming into Auckland, from Japan and wherever.
I liked it.
At the moment, the Auckland... Sorry, guys, I'm on a roll now.
No, it's good, man. Yeah, keep it coming, man. It's good.
At the moment, Ngāti Whātua own the land, right, for Auckland ports, and the ports of Auckland lease it off Ngāti Whātua, so they pay rent for it. But the thing is that at the moment, Ngāti Whātua really, it costs about $1,000 a square meter if you work out the land of how much it's getting divvied out for. So it's really not making that much money, right? So I would knock it down, move the ports of Auckland to Whangarei and Tauranga, and I would put townhouses and apartments on it to create more housing, which then increases the price of that square meter section to $10,000. So instead of $1,000, you get $10,000 a square meter, which goes back into our system to build proper housing, which is right by public transport. It's right in the city centre. It's right where jobs are. And again, it gives more homes in Auckland and places that actually have the infrastructure there. We've built a mean train station. We've got a mean bus. No one uses it because there's no reason to go into town.
Wow.
But if you put housing there, again, that solves that problem. And you're putting it in a nice area and you're putting it where it's close to everything.
Wow.
So, but again, sit on that. I know, and apologies to any port workers because I understand that jobs will be lost. But again, I think the biggest thing for us is housing and making sure people have a roof over their head. I don't want to walk down Queen Street and see people that are homeless. That breaks my heart. I don't want to see families struggling. Like, I don't want to see like families with like, 4 or 5 kids plus, sharing a 2-bedroom house. I don't want to see that. But then having to pay $1 million for a 2-bedroom house. Like, no one deserves that. I don't want people sleeping in the garage and getting sick. So I want to try and do some stuff that that can, I don't know, change people's lives. And yeah.
And you're serious about this, eh? Because you like in terms of 2030 mayor.
Yeah, no, I am. But again, like, I think the biggest hater is my wife.
What do you mean? Tell us. What do you mean? What did she say to you?
No, because it started as a joke. I think she can't shake the fact that it's a joke. I think, and again, because I mean, if you listen to me on radio, I'm a pretty fun guy. Like, I say some pretty out the gate things, but I think that with this one here, she just wants to make sure that if I'm representing our family and I'm trying to do something, I've got to be all in. I've got to make sure that I come with purpose. I don't want to be just another guy with false hopes and dreams and not fulfill them. So again, she always challenges me to make sure that my intentions are right. What am I doing it for? Am I doing it to actually help, or am I doing it for the paycheck? And am I doing it for the chauffeured car? I'm not, because I'd rather drive my own car. But again, intentions, making sure my intentions are right.
That's cool.
And how awesome is it to have someone in your corner like that that can call it straight
man.
down the line to keep you honest?
Man, you think Samoan mums are there to keep you humble? Man, my wife keeps me humble. But I think this is the best part, because like opposites attract. And she's taught me a lot about myself and about I didn't really have a lot of empathy growing up. I didn't, like, I found it hard to feel someone else's sadness or feel someone else's emotions. I don't know, like, I went away for boarding school for a bit, so I kind of learned how to grow up by myself, and I really didn't have that much, like, I didn't have a hard upbringing, so I found it hard to relate to people's issues. People would come in at work sometimes and be really upset because they broke up with their boyfriend, and even though that was so important to them, I couldn't feel that, and I couldn't sympathize with it, and so I lacked empathy. But once I met Sarah, like, that all changed. Like, I understood more. I started to realize what real mental health was and how important it was. Like, there were so many times where I'd probably just shake it off, like, I'm just having a bad day. But then she made me do the like self-reflection stuff, and I was like, man, shucks, actually, I'm not that happy, or, really understanding your emotions. And again, that comes back to what I was saying before. It's so important to surround yourself with people that have got you, like, that have got your back. And I've got that with my type 5. I've got that with my mum and dad. And now I'm very, very blessed to have that with my wife too, that can just keep me centered and making sure that my mind's in the right place. And I help her, she helps me. She probably helps me a little bit more than I help her. But, it's a really good chemistry that we have together. And that's why I put a ring on it so fast.
So you do straight away?
Straight away. I was like, I'm not going to do any better than this. I'm definitely punching. So, I locked it in.
I heard there was a funny story about you initially wanting to propose in Samoa.
How did you know that story?
I just...
Oh, he knows your cousin.
This is real, man. This is how I know my boys are my real boys. Because this would have ended friendships. But I got a ring, and I knew that I wanted to propose, and I said, I want to do it in Samoa. Like, Sarah and I had been there before, and she loves like Lalumanu Beach, and she wanted to go back there. So I said to the boys, and all my boys were in my line too. So I said, hey, like, let's all go Samoa, and I'm gonna propose. And then we were there for like 2 days, and then my mate said, he was like, when are you gonna do it? I said, no, I'll do it soon. I'll do it soon. And then my mate Albie came up to me and was like, you gonna do it? And I was like, yeah. Then 5 days went past and I still didn't do it. And then I think on the 5th day, we were just about to go home and jump back on a plane. And they're like, do it now. And I was like, nah, I'll do it back in New Zealand. And I didn't do it. And it took me 3 months after that trip to Samoa.
Why Nickson?
I don't know. I just think that, again, I wanted to make sure my intentions were right.
Yeah.
I wanted to, and
Cool,
man. I just was like, and I didn't ask her dad. And so something wasn't right. And I was like, okay, so then, 3 months after that, then I proposed and then I did it that way. But yeah, like any normal people, your friends would have gone, screw you. We just paid like thousands of dollars to get here to be a part of this. I was like, man, you got a holiday, relax. So, but but they all stuck by me. And then when I finally did it, it was a very special moment.
Wow,
so, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Did she have a bit of an inkling that you were going to propose, or she just?
Yeah, I think she did, because we had talked about it before. But when she found out that I was supposed to do it in Samoa, like she was angry, but she was laughing at the same time. But I was like, I just wanted to make sure it was right. And I think she respected the fact that I wanted to do it traditionally. You know, her dad is really traditional, and mum as well. Like they're amazing people, and I wanted to do it right. So yeah. And man, I think the wedding day for me was probably the best day of my life. So it was all worth it. And it all worked. And I mean, we've been married nearly 10 years now. So yeah. So I felt like I did all right. Yeah.
Oh, man, that's beautiful.
She hasn't even wanted to leave yet, so pretty good.
All as well.
All as well.
And I was going to ask about, so in terms of marriage, like, how is it being Nickson, the public figure that we know, and then being at home with your wife? Do you find it's sort of different? You know, you're sort of bringing out different parts of your personality for work compared to... Yeah. So I am a little bit different. So you probably can't tell, but I'm very introverted. Like, so I don't really go out in public a lot, because it's not that, like, I'm a little bit shy as well, because people that listen to you every morning, they remember everything you've said. Where if you ask me what I talked about on the show this morning, I can't remember. So like I get lost in a conversation and then it starts to like drain my energy a bit. And I think that, again, a lot of people misunderstand me because they think I'm a snob, or they think I'm rude, or they think I'm up myself. But it's actually, I'm just quite shy, and I just don't really, I don't remember a lot. But when I'm at home, I'm very quiet. And once I'm home, I'm home. Like I chill out. Like I outside mowing my lawns. I'm cleaning the house or doing whatever. So Sarah gets a real, very, I wouldn't say guarded, but she gets a real like relaxed me. And then when I'm on radio, I'm still me, but I add GST to it. So I'm like me plus 15%. So, yeah, she gets a way more relaxed version. And sometimes she'll be like, I don't want Nickson from the radio. I want Nickson, the home Nickson. And she'll question me on that sometimes. Sometimes if I'm like coming home from work and like my adrenaline's still going, she'll be like, no, leave that Nickson at the door. Like, I want home Nickson. So she challenges me on that as well. But I'm very like a private person. Like no one at work knows where I live. Bro, like I'm very private like that. And a lot, like it becomes a running joke now. It becomes a running joke. I don't really go to the mall a lot. It's just, I just get a little bit shy. That's all.
Man, that's crazy.
It's weird because when people go, can I get a photo? That weirds me out so much, because I'm like, cool, I'll get a photo of you and thank you for listening. Like, I appreciate it, man. Like, that's an honor. Like, I'm very humbled by that. But what always goes through my mind is when you show that photo to someone else, what's the other person's reaction? Would they be like, who is that? Like, you know, like it's very, like it's humbling, but at the same time, I'm just a little bit confused, because at the same time, like people that work in radio, man, we're just glorified telephone operators, you know, that just try and make you laugh. And so again, it's very, very humbling. And especially like when kids come up and they want to have a chat too, and then their parents come up and they say that the kids listen to you on the way to school and that sort of stuff. So that's awesome. The only people that I reckon are the worst are the people that work at Kmart. They're so angry.
Why? What do they do?
But they call me out for everything. Like I'll walk around with my hoodie on and they'll call me out and be like, he was a snob, he didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm just in Kmart trying to buy a USB cord, man. Come on. Like, yeah. But other than that, like, people are lovely. Especially the people, more so the people that you meet in real life, they're the best ones. My wife still doesn't really like get involved in it a lot. So I think that's the radio Nickson versus the home Nickson, is that it kind of rattles her a little bit. Sometimes people will be like they'll just chuck Sarah the phone saying, "Can you take a photo?" And a number of times Sarah's just dropped someone's phone in Sylvia Park Mall and just dropped it on the ground. Yeah, she's sassy like that, but I love that kind of energy. But yeah, she likes the home Nickson rather than the radio Nickson. And she keeps me humble too. She doesn't listen to the show.
Wow.
I don't think she's listened since 2018. So maybe 2017. Again, because she kind of knows. She kind of knows. But again, that keeps me humble.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because you would never think that, Jay? You were like, nah, Nickson's out there. He likes to talk. He's out there. He's just...
Yeah. No, I love to talk. And I think like it's one of those things that if I'm comfortable and again, if I have purpose to talk as well. And I mean, when you got to talk for 4 hours every day nonstop and you've only got one song to take a breath and then you got to come back on and then talk again. Like by the time it gets to like midday, like, man, I've used every single word in the English alphabet by that point. So I kind of just chill out and, and then go and have some alone time.
Do you have to like put on a persona sometimes, Nickson, on the radio station, or?
I did for a long time until I got to like 28, and that's when I really started to go, nah, I just want to be me now. Wow. Like I'm just going to talk the way that I talk. Like, you know, a lot of people now, like I honestly believe that My FM started this. The way we talk on the radio is exactly how we talk in real life. We're not trying to put on a radio voice. Like this is exactly how I talk in real life. But I was trying to be like an American DJ when I first started, you know, everything was so slick and, you know, have that little twang going on. And then I thought that was right. And then that persona kind of stopped when I got to 28 and me and Nate were just like, we're just going to do us. And then when I left My FM, the Edge bosses were like, we bought Nickson from My FM. So we want that Nickson from My FM. So I could be the exact same person. Like we're paying for that Nickson, so can you bring that over here? So again, they're just letting me be me. Like I can be cheeky, I can say what I want to say, and I can just, you know, represent for who I am. And like the honest, what you hear on the radio is honestly, I choose not to read through. So we get like a whole bunch of sheets in the morning, and I when I wake up in the morning, I go to the gym first thing in the morning, and then I read my sheets while I'm at the gym. And I just go through them, but I don't read the layered part. So I know the topic, but I don't know the detail. So like if Meg or Eli have brought something in, I know the topic, but I don't know the example, or I don't know the supporting information. So then when you're hearing it for the first time, so am I. Yeah, so the reaction that I'm giving is a real reaction. And I used to do that on mine too. So like, you know, producer Ryan, who helped out for ages, like he would do the same. He would only send me sheets that didn't have that information in it. And then when Matua Mark took over, he was the same. And so they knew kind of how I worked. And so I'd rather that rather than you getting like this acting, because I'm a terrible actor. I'm a terrible actor. So I wanted it to sound natural, of like if you're listening in your car, when you're hearing it for the first time, so am I. And then hopefully the reaction you're giving in your car is the one that I'm representing on the radio. And so that's how that's always worked. Wow. Yeah. But there's a lot of reading. Yeah, so I go through like 12 sheets a day. Damn. 12 sheets that have just got, and that's without the supporting info. So there's a lot going on.
Because how was it going for you now in terms of the Edge? What's the feel for you now in terms of, because people might be wondering, what's his honest opinion in terms of how's he doing over there? Are you really like thoroughly enjoying it? And how's the ratings and all that kind of stuff? Or was that like?
So we had our ratings today, and we gained 66,000 new listeners. Wow. So I'm pretty happy with that. Yeah. So at least you know they're getting their money's worth. But
Perroys.
Oh man, I wish. Also, if you actually want to get into radio. No, actually, no, I'll rephrase that. If you actually want to be rich, radio is not your career. Like, you got to be a journeyman to get the big money. Like, yeah, you probably got a better chance going to work at Spark Call Center to make more money. But I actually really love it. Like, I really do love it. It was something that I needed. It makes me feel fresh. I was excited again. It's like, you know, when you move to a new school, that's what it's like. You're making new friends, you're starting again. And like, I had that same feeling when I started at for the first time, is that you're creating something, you know, like a legacy. And I wanted to try and recreate that and do it for a different kind of audience on the edge. But I don't, you know what, like, as much as people probably think that I hate it, like, I don't mind playing Ed Sheeran. I don't mind playing Dua Lipa and Adele. Like, it's all good. Like, it's good for my brain. I can stay like awake and alert. But I think when the first level 4 lockdown kicked in Auckland or in Aotearoa, I went into cruise control. Like, I just like, and at my FM, I was just like, I know this like the back of my hand. Like, I can just turn, I don't even need the sheets. I can just do that. I know where everything's coming up. I know. And I feel like that was a bit of a disservice to me and the listeners. Like, I was just cruising. Like, I think in the last month or two, if you go back and listen to those shows, I really didn't bring any content. Like, I wasn't talking about anything. I was letting Tegan and Jordan run the whole thing, because I was just like, yeah. And I think that's when I started to get that feeling that, you know, maybe I need to do something else. And now that I get to, you know, be me and play new songs and have that fresh new take and talk to a whole new audience. Like, my FM doesn't go into places like Taupo. It's come out of Christchurch now. So it's Christchurch, Dunedin, Blenheim, you know, Nelson, all those places. Like, my FM isn't there. And so I'm talking to people that I've never talked to before, that don't know about Nickson. They don't know about my FM for the very first time being on the edge. So the scale of having a Samoan voice in the area every morning is
so cool, man.
Is pretty cool.
So cool. So how's the love? Are they kind of giving you some feedback in terms of love and sending through messages, Nickson?
Yeah, a few my FM listeners have come over and they come on and say morena every morning. So yeah, kia ora to that. The bosses have been so good. Like, I've got a really good support system around me to make sure that I feel comfortable there. And again, like, I think I said before the podcast started, it's nice to be kind of like loved and wanted a little bit, and knowing that I've worked so hard at Maya to get like that love doubled down and have all these people around me that can support me and help me out to make this journey at the edge work. It's pretty cool and pretty humbling. So yeah, I'm getting a lot of love on that.
So cool. So awesome.
Man, I was going to ask about the sort of this. You touched on it slightly in terms of the support system at the edge. You know, you mentioned people like producer Ryan and DJ Severe, and sort of there's some of those contextual people that help shape who you are. Yeah. In terms of the support systems at the edge, is the work culture itself a bit different? Like, we've talked about the different people in that, but in terms of some of the systems that they have in place and the way they run their ship, well, what's that sort of been?
My FM, they're both very, very different. Like, they're trying to achieve the same thing, but very, very different. Like, my punch is way above its weight. Like, they have 5 people in the office. Like, when you think about how big Maya is, especially in Auckland, like, there's 5 people behind the scenes that are like pushing that, not including the announcers and the producers. So like, they have to achieve a lot, but they really only have to focus on Auckland, because that's where, you know, that's the origin of it. Where the edge is responsible for the whole country. You know, that you're in every single place in the country. So the workload, the promos, like, you know, like, I used to have to get people excited about a $5 KFC voucher at my FM. The edge people are working on giving away $100,000 to somebody, you know? So like, the scale of things is so different. But again, they can do that because it's nationwide, you know, they can do all that sort of stuff. So I mean, my work's so much harder than they need to. But the people there are working so hard, but the edge works so much harder, but they're trying to achieve things on a bigger scale, so that it's all like in context, if you know what I mean. But both stations hustle super hard. There's just more, for the more regions you are in Aotearoa that your station is in, you get one extra person, if you know what I mean. So so like, I only used to have producer Ryan, and then we have our web guy Nikora, who used to do all our videos for My Morning Crew, who still does. And then when Ryan left, Matua Mark came in. So we only had one executive producer, where at Edge I got like 4, you know. So, but because we're in so many more markets, we need that support. So it is a little bit different, but it's in context, if you know what I mean. Yeah.
Is there Like you mentioned that Maya, you were able to be yourself and things were quite open. Because the Edge is nationwide, does that mean there's like sort of they're a bit more strict in some things in terms of some of the humor? I know things like PC culture and cancel culture are huge now. So does that get amplified at the Edge?
Nah, man. You know, you're gonna get cancelled way quicker on my FM than you will on no, because I really like I can get away with way more on the Edge because like it literally lives by its name. Like we're on the edge, right? Than I could at my. So there's a couple of things that we created at my that I've taken over to Edge because I was still testing the waters. But like on the Edge, I can say they had sex, right? But on my FM, we used to say they had adult cuddles, because you couldn't say the sex word, right? So you can beep that out if that doesn't fit the filter of your podcast. But
no,
and so there was different things like that, So like I can just say that, but on I had to be a little bit more clever, with the way that I phrase things, because with you got like the mum in the car with the kids going to school, where with the Edge you're more likely to have like, I don't know, a young professional sitting in their car. Like you probably don't have the kids listening. You might do, but you might not. But with if you can't say it in front of your mum, you can't say it. So that was the filter for my FM. And it still is. If you can't say it in front of your mum, you can't say it. Where Edge is like, nah, mum's not here. I can say what I want. So that's kind of the difference.
That's a cool way to put it. Yeah, I like that.
Man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's a great couple. So, just so we can go back a bit, Nickson, because I know you talked about some of your friends, your type 5, and being surrounded by some really good people. Has there ever been a time, even in the radio industry, where you have aligned yourself with some people and you found out later, like, man, these are not the right people in my corner, or people who are not supportive of what you're doing? Has there ever been a time with that, regardless if it's just radio or an example of what, has there ever been a case like that?
Yeah. I think when I first got into radio and the show started to get successful, we had quite a few people, that like radio culture used to be real bad, like as in like there was a lot of alcohol around, people like to party hard, work hard, play hard, that sort of stuff. But then, when you get to that point where you're like, actually, this is not me. Like, this is actually not me at all. And again, that's one of the main reasons why I live so far away. I wanted to distance myself away from that. So I know that as soon as I leave that building, then that's done. That's done. I forget about radio until I have to go back the next morning. So I think, and that's cleaned up a lot now. But I don't really drink a lot. Like, I want to be happy most of the time. But there was a stage in my life, and it was probably just before I met Sarah, where I was probably... That was probably maybe those 3 to 4 years were probably the years in my life that I'm probably not the proudest of. So, and I did things that I hoped that my mum would never know about, and I treated people a little bit bad and, broke girls' hearts and all that sort of stuff. So, but just being an idiot. And I think that was because I bought into the hype. I bought into like, yeah, cool, I'm making money, I'm on the radio, whatever. And then when you get that reality check sometimes of, man, that's not really you. Who are you? That's when I had to change my ways and separate the people. And the funny thing is the people that I separated away from, man, they're not in radio anymore.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, shucks, I could have been in that boat if I went down that path. They got gassed. And again, that's not the culture that we're trying to create in radio. So I'm so happy that I was mature enough to figure that out by myself. And again, like, man, if I could take back those 3 to 4 years where I was probably not my best self, I probably would. They always say, you always learn from those kind of mistakes, but like in real honesty, like I probably would take them back. Like I probably wouldn't do that again.
Wow.
So yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Some of the lessons, some of the nuggets in terms of, like you're saying, just finding out who you are and learning about who you are as an individual. And
I know, like I say that, and I know that I probably make it sound a lot easier than it is, but it is actually really hard to find yourself and what you are like. And I think that's a journey in itself. Like, I don't think you're just going to one day just wake up and it's just going to click. I think that it's a transition process or like trial and error. It's like, man, I'll try this. Does it make me feel happy? Cool. No, it doesn't. Cool. Off to the next thing. And I think that that's okay. And I think that if you respect it for the journey that it is, then that's fine. As long as you know that you're trying to get to the right place.
Yeah. Good, man. Good advice. I think a lot of people, because I think we kind of talked about it just a little bit, Nickson, and I'm not too sure that many people know about this, but we talked about the Nickson obviously on the radio. In one day, future, 2030, you're going to be the mayor of Tamaki Makaurau.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
And but you kind of, I think it's fair to say you're a bit of a entrepreneur. In terms of business and even property and all that kind of stuff. I don't think too many people know that about you, Nickson. So how did that come about?
It was really hard talking about it on my FM because I didn't want to sound like one of those guys. And it was actually, that's why I never really talked about the houses that we owned and all that sort of stuff because so we never talked about that. There was a couple of rules when I was at my FM with the team. We don't talk about my car and we don't talk about the houses. Like those were the two rules because you don't want to, again, look like that guy. But, I want people to know that I worked extremely hard for that as well. And I think that there's nothing wrong with treating yourself and making sure that you're setting yourself up for when radio finishes. But the entrepreneur stuff came because when you first start in radio, and I was very blessed to have some people in my life that wanted to help out, but radio money is like danger money. It doesn't last forever. And we're always told that. And the way the rating system works is that if you get 2 bad ratings in a row, you under review. And if you can't get it back on the right track, then they gas the show and they change it. And again, you could have a job thinking you're all sweet and then next minute cut. And you've seen that happen on TV shows. You've seen that happen on, man, how many radio shows have you probably listened to where the show's just completely changed and it's all gone? And I'm so proud that I have never been a part of a show like that. But you have to keep that in mind that money doesn't last forever. And a lot of the people that help us out with the financial stuff, they compare it to sport money, is that, so an athlete has only got a lifespan of this long. Once you get to that point, it's like, hey, what are you doing now? You go to France, Japan, make your last little bit of money and then you're done. And so they always compare it to that. And so when I first started in radio, I was surrounded by some really good finance people that helped us through. They encouraged us to learn about investments and all that sort of stuff. And Sarah and I bought our first house in 2014. And then they said every time you get a little bit more or a bonus or something, then invest it again. And so we started investing in a lot of things. And houses was one of them. So I probably contributed to the housing shortage. So I apologize for that, but I've paid it back by selling them all now. But so we bought into that. We had finance people around us. And then I said one day that to our financial advisor that my mum and dad, or my dad, wanted to retire. So he's a chef. So I was like, I would love to build a cafe with them, for them. And so we invested in that and we built them a cafe. And then when COVID hit, my mum lost her job as air hostess. So because there's no planes traveling. So we had the business there for mum to come straight into and keep them afloat. So so we invested in that, in the cafe and I invest in housing and property and that sort of stuff. And my wife's got a business that she's launching too. So again, it's preparing myself that when radio does finish, that I'm good. And that's why at the end of my FM journey, I was actually content just to finish because I knew that I was happy and, I knew that our life would be sweet. So, again, it's so much easy now. And that's one of the dangerous parts about social media too, is that you got to be careful on who you follow too, because you look at someone's life, man, everybody's life looks sweet as. No one's putting ugly photos up on social media. And then you're like, oh, this person's got this person's got that. I never bought into that hype. And I don't want people thinking that I did. But I think it's, you live within your means and don't spend all the money that you've got. Put some aside. I know that's hard because some people are living paycheck to paycheck, but I wasn't making the most amount of money when I first started on radio, but you figure it out. We didn't have kids, but you figure it out. And again, stay ambitious, stay humble. But what do you want out of your life? And what's going to get you there? Legally going to get you there. And so... Again, I put those focuses in place. And again, I'm very blessed and I was privileged enough to have that opportunity. And I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I don't want people to feel that there is no hope. You keep pushing, find that ambition to push and do stuff that you like. I wanted to make sure that my wife and my mum and dad were happy and I figured it out. And I hope that blessing just continues on as well. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I think a lot of people, because they know who you are, Nickson. Oh, Nickson, and they probably check your IG and all that kind of stuff, and they look at all this amazing photos and all these places you've been to and gone to. But you're right, you're spot on in terms of that's the end product. They haven't seen the hard grind and the hard work prior to all of that.
They don't know that I work 4 jobs.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's because of that. And some people might even be, they'll still be haters, and you know that. They'll still be haters, whatever, what a fear balangi guy, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you probably get all of that. But the truth of the matter is this, you work your ass off to do those, to get those things. And the thing is, I love the fact that you said, don't believe the hype.
Yeah.
And your intentions, make sure that your intentions are well in terms of helping others. And so, bro, that means a lot, man.
No, and again, like I want to like double down on that. So like I bought those houses not for clout. I bought those houses for my financial freedom and my family's. I bought that car for me. I didn't buy it to show off and do all that sort of stuff, And again, it's your intentions. Like, what do you want to achieve for you and the people around you? And I want people to know that it is hard work, but my intentions are never to be better than anybody else. My intentions, my actual real intention in radio is I just wanted people to be heard. We don't have to work on a Psalm 1 radio station. It doesn't have to be a hip hop and R&B station. I just want Psalm 1 voices being heard. That's it. That's my pure intention. When I turn on the mic, it's like someone just like me can listen to this and feel that they're being represented. That's pure. That's the honest truth.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh man, and you're right, because Nickson, there's obviously in terms of the Pacific space, people think, we need to do our own Pacific stuff or our own Pacific radio station. But I love the fact that you say, hey, I can make it in the mainstream. I can actually make it in the mainstream. I don't have to create something over here. I can actually go there and make it big and do an excellent job. And that's what you've done, man.
Yeah. And if another Samoan can come through, or another Pacific Islander or Maori can come through, and then they can do it, like, man, how cool is it to watch like the news now, and you've got like representation on there, like that's what we need, and man, no disrespect to like the other platforms that are creating it specifically for our people, where 100% of that content is for our people, but we shouldn't just be for that. Like we're humans. Like we can be represented in all different layers.
It's beautiful, man.
So I'm real big on that.
Awesome,
man. That's so awesome. It just makes me appreciate the journey even more, and just the reminder that we're on a journey. And sometimes it's easy to sort of branch out, and then you start to doubt because you sort of turn back and you're the only one there. And so just big ups on pursuing it, and just a reminder that we're all on our own journey, and I think that's so important. And
all different cars, but we're all heading the same way. That's it. Yeah.
We're all on State Highway 1 in traffic. We're all on the same motorway. We're all stuck in
bumper to bumper. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to give big ups to even like your social media. From what I saw, everything that you've said, sort of there's like a transparency there where it just seems like it's you, having a laugh.
Yeah. Because I'm terrible on social media. Like, like I've got like 10 photos on it, and like there's me mowing the lawns, my Lego collection, and my wife and my animals. That's basically it. And my mates.
And just that self-awareness, I think, is so important. And like you mentioned, it's a lot harder to get to that point and be able to figure out yourself and what works and what doesn't, and sort of find your own rhythm in life. And I feel like that's a journey that, at least for myself, and I'm sure a lot of other men out there are still trying to find that right balance of who we are and our own rhythm.
And you know what, like if I'm being honest as well, like I'm not 100% there, but I know where I'm going. I know what I'm trying to achieve, and I think that clears the fog a bit, and again, so don't think that like I've cracked it and I'm trying to be the man. Like I'm still on that journey too, but I think the fog is clearing because I know where I'm going. That's it. Because I've got to focus. That's what I'm trying to do. Yeah. So I encourage that to everybody else as well. Just keep pushing through that fog.
Love that.
Awesome. Also, hey, listen, it's, I know in terms of time's sake, but also just a lot of rich Talanoa in terms of, and the one thing that really stood out, Nickson, is intentions. If your intentions are pure and good for the betterment of yourself and others, you can never go wrong. Nickson, you can never go wrong. It's so rich. And I love the fact that, and people, obviously, I go back to the haters and all that kind of stuff, but the work that you do, it's a testimony of who you are. You can't, you can't hide the fact that you put in the hard yards. And that's testament to who you are, Nickson. And so also thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your nuggets, pretty much nuggets also, and speaking your truth and sharing with us. And I know a lot of men will be appreciative of what you're saying and hearing. Like, man, if Nickson can do it, it's the same thing. If Nickson can do it, man, hey, I can do it as well. If he's doing some amazing things.
No, and that's the truth. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Like, that's real talk. That is real talk. And I appreciate the time, mate, to come and have a chat.
Bro,
you guys are doing God's work, and just giving the opportunity for people to share and talk and get talking, you know. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, we appreciate it also. But is there anyone, Nickson, is there anyone that you can think of that'll be ideal to come on the podcast? Or you think that, this would be the right candidate or right person?
Yeah. The first name that pops into my head is you have to talk to Nate. You have to talk to Nate now. You can message him on Twitter because that's the only place that I can seem to get a hold of him too. So there's two people as well as Nate that would be awesome because they helped me on my journey. Oscar Kitely and Mario Ngawa as well. Like those two gave me and Nate our first shot. And I think that they opened the gate for a lot of us Pacific brothers to, you know, get into media and to get into radio. So yeah, Mario, Oscar, and definitely Nate. Like Nate's got the best stories.
Oh,
he's got the best
Nate,
stories.
if you're watching this, Nate, please.
Yeah.
Oscar, Mario.
Yeah, but they're good people.
Oh man, any last words, Jay? You wanna
just grateful for the time, the nuggets, just the authenticity. I think, and I think that's the secret sauce for why you're so loved. It's just people, you know, people can sense when you're being someone that you're not, and I think it through even just your voice, it flows through and people relate to that. So awesome to get a peek behind the scenes and just to be surprised by how congruent everything is. Like you are who you are, and
what you see is what you get. What you hear is what you get.
I love it. I love it, and I'm sure plenty other people do too. So yeah, just wanted to say thanks for coming, sharing your time with us, and yeah, any sort of last words to the crowd?
Refine, unlock, and take charge.
Awesome. Also, one last thing as well, Nickson. Every person that comes on, every guest that comes on on the podcast, we always give them a gift, and so we've done a sketch or a caricature of you.
What?
And so also this is for you on behalf of the Mandate team of Taitele Love. Also, this is for you.
Oh shucks, this is actually real good. I love that, and I love who did it. Oh man, you made me look skinny too. I appreciate you. Thank you. Man, that's so cool. I love that.
Thank you so much. Also,
oh, that's going up in the office. I'm putting that in the office. That's awesome.
Awesome, man. Thank you once again, Nickson. Okay, let's give him a hand. Woo. Rocky.
Studio audience.
Mandate.